Check one. Check two. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Comic Book Herald Live. Hey, everybody, I'm Dave Busing, founder and editor-in-chief of comicbookherald.com. You're listening to the Comic Book Herald YouTube live stream here on the CBH channel. If you like what I do here, please like, subscribe, share, comment, tell a friend, all that fun stuff. Today's going to be a solo episode. Just me talking comics, catching up on what's going on in the world of comics. Huge shouts to everybody who shows up live today because I put the YouTube card, I had the date as tomorrow, even though I had to schedule it for today. I'm busy tomorrow. I can't do that. So I'm here today. We had Rob from Comics Explained talking X-Men 97 last week. Go check that out if you missed it. It was a really nice conversation talking post-game show X-Men 97. No X-Men 97 this week. Just pure, unadulterated comics straight to the dome. Going to be talking about those today. And then next week is going to be the Krakoa era X-Men post-game show with Ernie from Blurred Without Fear and Open Mike Eagle as well. Should be a good time talking the end of Krakoa. Save your questions, save your thoughts. For then, it's going to be real fun. So again, thanks to the few, the proud, the true fans who are here with me live on a day that I did not broadcast. I would be streaming. I like keeping people on their toes, right? I like keeping y'all on your toes. I think if I made it too easy, these streams would just be crowded, you know? Be crowded. I couldn't follow all the conversation in the chat. You know, there'd be so many people swooning, right? There'd just be swooners everywhere. And I don't know. It feels like a lot. It feels like a big responsibility to try and handle all that. So I like to keep it just to you, the dedicated few who are here to talk comics with me today. Again, thanks so much for joining. I appreciate having you here. We are going to, we got a swooner. Javi's down. Somebody help Javi. We're gonna, people, listen, that's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. If I was streaming to 1,000 people at a time, 25% of them are down, right? Within the first 30 minutes, 30 seconds, probably. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. We can't have that many people falling at that clip. So today we're going to talk comics. We're going to talk X-Men Forever. We're going to catch up on. We're going to talk the newly announced Jonathan Hickman X-Men comic. What? Buried the lead on that one. New Jonathan Hickman X-Men comic just dropped. We're going to talk about it. Adam says, the rare no-hat Dave. How will we pay attention to anything he's saying with that beautiful head of hair? Hey, I'll tell you what. Marry a partner who can cut your hair. Marry a partner who I haven't paid for a haircut. Y'all are like, yeah, I can tell. All right, watch it. I haven't paid for a haircut in close to 18 years. 18 years, baby. Okay. Have I known my wife that long? For real? Yes, I have. I have, actually. That's right. Long-term. Listen, we could do dating advice. We could do relationship advice. I'd be happy to dole that out. I'm clearly an expert on the subject matter. And obviously nothing could possibly go wrong with me really emphasizing that fact. I've got a hat here. I can switch to it. If people get uncomfortable, if people get concerned about what's going on up here, I can pull out the hat. But I don't know. I just took a shower. Y'all would not believe, all right, I shouldn't say this, but y'all would not believe how many Kraken Krakoa vids and how many live streams are done right after the shower. Usually I'll play basketball at the park with the local kids. and then I'll come back, I'll clean up, and then I come back here straight to recording. It's usually my go-to time. A lot of times is post shower. And listen, I'll just say, I'm always looking good. So anyway, I could put a hat on. Really talking myself up today. All right. Thank you all for being here. We probably have real topics to talk about. Banksy says, you're my news source for the most part. Yeah, it's always funny. Yeah, the Marvel announced Jonathan Hickman and Greg Capullo are going to be doing a 5-issue Red Band Wolverine series. It is always funny to me that, like, I'm breaking news for some folks. Like normal people, right? Like for normal people, you might not have heard about this yet. So yeah, there's going to be a new Jonathan Hickman and Greg Capullo Wolverine series. Who saw that coming? Dave Stinney did not have that full prediction. We all knew Capullo Wolverine something. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about, we got to talk a little bit about X-Men editor Jordan D. White and his X-Men Mondays interviews, which are just like, are like manufactured to drive me insane. Like, we'll get into that a little bit. I'm going to talk how Fall of the House of X is incredibly similar to Spider-Man One More Day. A little revelation I had over the last couple days. We're going to talk about. Listen, some people, I say that, and some people are like, "Oh, sick burn, calm down. Jerry has a family, Dave." I'm like, listen, I'm just noting emotional and topical comparisons. Okay, can we settle down and just talk about the fact that Fall of the House of X? I'm not even saying it's abysmal. I'm not even saying it's one of my 10 least favorite comics of all time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not out here saying I would rather fall off the roof than read Fall of the House of X. You put those words in my mouth. I didn't say that. Okay? Okay? That's not me. Okay? I did not say I would rather only listen to The Fall and never be able to listen to Pavement again. You said that. Okay? Okay? Am I making similar jokes that I've made previously? Yes, I'm very limited. I only have so many. Okay? I gotta get up here. Like anyone's making me do this. Like I don't choose to because I enjoy hanging out and talking comics with you. I gotta get out here once a week. Talk nonstop. Even like I don't know that this is a little personal, but like this is the 1 hour a week I speak. This is it. Rest of the week, close-lipped. I don't say a word. My kids are talking constantly. They're screaming all the time. My wife has plenty to say. I don't need to say a thing. This is the 1 hour a week I talk. So it's difficult, yes, to talk and have coherent thought and expert acumen for an hour straight. But it's also the only time all week that I do it. So, in that way, it's a lot easier. All right. The point being, we got to talk a little bit about Fall House of X and how it is very similar to Spider-Man One More Day. That's not even, One More Day isn't that bad. Let's start there. Okay? One More Day is not as bad as you remember it. It is incredibly significant and obviously had a massive impact on loads and loads of Spider-Man fans. So we're going to talk about it in that regard. Justin says, Dave, you're really good at never having dead air. It's good S. Can't swear. That's too blue for me, Justin. Thank you for saying that. That is the biggest lesson I learned from being a college radio DJ. They had a sign. There was like one rule. I mean, the things we did on that college station, the fact that went out to real people, real townies out in the world, shameful. Shameful that some of that stuff was heard by real actual humans that could have tuned into the radio station. Truly, like triable in a court of your peers stuff. But they had a sign that said no dead air. That was like the one rule. And I didn't always hold to that. Sometimes when I was producing a baseball game one time. True story. And I found a copy this is part of how I got into comics. I found a copy of The Essential Amazing Spider-Man by Stanley the Manly and Steve Ditko and friends. And I didn't really know much about comics at that point in time. It was like volume 2 or 3. And I was like, oh, I wonder when Venom shows up. Like, I had no idea. These are 60s Spider-Man comics. And I'm like, Venom? So I'm reading that. Black and white, these essential editions. If you haven't seen them, they rolled. They like got me into Marvel Comics. And I'm so engrossed in that I completely missed like that they threw back to me in the studio. Broadcasting baseball games is hard as hell, by the way. Shouts to anyone who's ever done it. Hard as hell, but they threw back to me in the studio thinking they could get a break. What I'm supposed to do at that point in time is to cut from the announcers and put on station identification, throw on some music, whatever, just like put something, no dead air, right? I did not do that. I was I was reading my Spider-Man comic so thoroughly that I completely missed, and then I noticed it. I noticed the greatest of all sins, which was dead air. Fortunately, the hosts did not say anything egregious or anything that would have gotten them in trouble, because Sports Broadcast did actually have some listeners at the time. So anyway, no dead air. Key rule, something I try to adhere to here as well. Let's do it. Let's do it. Timothy says, would you rather have watched the Bears last season or read The Fall of X? Oh, the Bears, unquestionably. Unquestionably. Interesting season, make or break for Justin Fields, RIP. Yeah, that's not hard. That's not hard. And honestly, not even a fall pun. So, doesn't quite fit. Okay, what do we got? What do we got today? What came out? Get in your questions, get in your thoughts. I'll address as many of them as I can. Let's talk about the news. New Wolverine Revenge from Jonathan Hickman, Greg Capullo, 5-issue Red Band limited series. You know what Red Band is now? Is it Marvel Black Label? The line that they unquestionably should have? No, it's not that. But it does have blood. So Red Band is this thing that Marvel is trying out with Blood Hunt. And these are their violent, mature readers comics. So instead of looking at like DC Black Label and being like, we should pay amazing creators and cartoonists to just like have their vision displayed with some of our characters, they were like, I think the lesson here is sex and violence. I think that's what the market is telling us we need in the landscape. So that's what Red Band is. Now, that cynicism out of the way, you got a Jonathan Hickman, Greg Capullo Wolverine series coming. That's pretty cool. That's surprising as hell. So when Capullo wasn't on the Wolverine ongoing, I was like, what a head fake, right? He had like posted to Instagram seemingly accidentally that he was drawing some Wolvie stuff, and then the book got announced and he wasn't involved, and it was like, okay, what actually is happening here? And it turns out it's like a limited series with Hickman doing Wolverine. I have mixed feelings about Jonathan Hickman returning to a mutant of any kind, of any stripe. We've talked about this on the show before. Right? It is a lot like having a father figure return late in your life. And I don't know how I feel about it. I'm conflicted. Am I going to read this book? Absolutely. I think what is interesting, and this ties into the comics that came out in the last couple weeks. So I've been saying for years, and let's just cement this one more time. I've been saying for years now, since the end of 2021, the era of long game ongoings from Jonathan Hickman at Marvel is over. It ended with X-Men. Okay? That era isn't coming back. It's not what he wants to do, seemingly. It's not what Marvel seems to be choosing for him to do. He's probably putting those creative energies into, his greater own stuff. The 3 World, 3 Moons money laundering scheme that I've supported for a few years now. So that's not happening. So what is happening? Well, one thing, for example, is Doom, a one-shot that came out last week, which is Hickman working with Sanford Green of Bitterroot fame, Power Man and Iron Fist, if you're a big Marvel head, and working on story, on plot, and then Green doing all the art. But, like, this is pretty clearly a Hickman thing where he's like, how can I help showcase this incredible talent in Sanford Green? And Doom is my favorite Marvel comic in years. This one-shot is so flipping excellent. I see here, Banksy says, Doom kind of seems Black Label-ish. It is so Black Label-ish. This is exactly the kind of Black Label thing I would love Marvel Comics to pursue. It is saying to a creator like a Sanford Green, here with collaboration with Hickman and company, saying, like, give us your vision. Give us your thoughts on an out-of-continuity Doom story. And lo and behold, it's incredible. It's so damn good. I love this comic. If you haven't read this thing yet, get thee to a comic shop as quickly as you can. And buy this one. I said last week when I was talking to Rob on X-Men 97, I said my shop had actually sold out of this one. There is appetite for this. I bet I'm not alone in having a hard time getting this. There is appetite for great creators doing their best work on familiar properties. And Marvel just refuses, just having refuses to do a Black Label. Like, I don't get it. This should be the template. This should be the damn template. Okay? I interviewed Brian Azzarello at C2E2 for Popverse, and one of the questions that editor-in-chief Popverse Chris Rant had me ask, and mostly it was like 90% my interview, and then Chris suggested some questions. And one of the ones that was interesting that I would not have known to ask was, apparently when DC Black Label was like first rolling around, they were kind of like behind the scenes calling it Jokerverse, and it was kind of based on being templated by Brian Azzarello and not Eduardo Riso, who's Liber Mejo's Joker graphic novel that they had done. Just kind of like that being the tone of, you know, an out-of-continuity, creator-owned, mature lens on characters. And one thing I asked Azzarello in the interview was like, does that mean it was going to be all Joker stuff, or was that just like thematically kind of what Black Label was inspired to be? And I was like, yeah, it was thematically, like that was the template. So that Joker book by Azzarello and Liber Mejo, like that's the ethos that Black Label was springing out of. Doom should be that. Doom should be that for Marvel. Give us the Doomverse. Okay? Give us the Doomverse. I want it. I want it so bad. You saw Cliff Chang do amazing things on Catwoman Lonely City. You're seeing Junie Ba do amazing things with the Robin book right now. Marvel could be doing the same thing. They have characters that I just like more, that I've spent more time with. There is no reason under the sun that they could not be taking similar swings with great, incredible creators like a Sanford Green. I mean, the work he's doing on Doom here, oh man, this book looks good. This book looks so flipping good. Open Mike Eagle says the MF Doom reference broke me. Yeah, opens with an MF Doom reference. R.I.P. to the great. And then it goes on to tell, I mean, the story, like narratively, it's a little Hickman's Greatest Hitsy. It's callbacky to Doom and Fantastic Four and Secret Wars. It's a fairly, I mean, just on paper, like, you know, it's kind of a familiar end of the universe kind of beat of Doom going up against a Galactus figure. I don't care. When it's told this expertly, it's a thrill. It's a thrill to see Doom at the end of the universe with Valeria Richards as his only companion, essentially, going up against Galactus. It's an incredibly cosmic book, which I didn't know to anticipate, you know, until it was there. If you haven't read this yet, it's so good. And it's actually, it's that rare thing of like, because it's out of continuity, because it's incredible creators playing, they can just decide what's the coolest stuff we can do. How do we make this look the best it can be? You know? And I think like that's the one thing I seek the most if we're going to sit out here chasing superhero comics and going through these cycles and having the heartbreak of things that seem really cool, like the Krakoa era ending as uncoolly, right? To articulate this as best I can, as Fall of the House of X, you want that stuff on the side. where it's like, oh yeah, and also great creators get to tell great stories to the fullest of their abilities, not just within the limitations, not just within the box that is ongoing Marvel Comics, the few of them that still exist. You know, I cannot say enough good things about Doom. It 100%. The next day I read it, I was excited. I said this is the best Marvel comic I've read in years. I mean, I don't know if I'm just forgetting something, but like the competition really goes like, so you go back to like House and Powers, that's 2019. Doom's not better than that. Okay? From 2020 on, what's a better Marvel comic than this Doom one shot? I liked that Fantastic Four Doctor Doom Travels in Time issue where Ryan North written, where he makes the Fantastic Four forget every letter except for D, O, and M. That's such a good bit. I enjoyed that quite a bit. No pun intended. I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man, none of the single issues are this good. Ultimate X-Men, none of the single issues are this good. I don't think anything's been this good for like 4 years. And it's not because it couldn't be. You know, I think is the reminder of this. It's not because that's not an option. You know? Like a Sanford Green is going to take this call. Wants this work. Wants to boost their profile. Wants to get paid to do cool comics. Like Marvel can choose that if they so desire. And year after year, they seem not to. You know, Justin just points out a very similar comp, which is Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise. Trad Moore. Visual spectacle. Many folks' favorite Marvel comic in a number of years. I thought that was another one where it's like visual feast. Narratively, could not tell you a thing that happened. Some of that's on me. Didn't really care to. Okay? But that's just watching Trad Moore and going, how does he do these things? How does he make colors and pages like that? I guess there's probably a colorist involved in this instance, but it's the same thing. It's respect for genuinely talented creators in a particular mode of cartooning and elevating these properties. Marvel should have space for that. That's what I wanted for the Ultimate Universe. It's not really that. It's kind of close. Peach Momoko's Ultimate X-Men is certainly in the vicinity, right? You know, it's in the conversation. And it's not just like getting indie and weird or whatever. It's like, no, like enable creators to do their best work. If it means you got to attach Hickman's name to it to get sales at a certain point, then like great. I think it's pretty cool he did that. I don't know, like it feels like a Hickman script. At least like the narrative captions. You know? So like who knows where the boundaries on the collaboration are and who exactly is doing what, and it's intentionally left vague. I cannot help but view that as, you know, kind of similar to his X-Men role, which was like seems like an individual who genuinely wants to elevate and help other creators. Seems to be a pretty cool aspect to this individual whose work I have cherished for some number of years. And obviously you don't need Hickman to elevate Greg Capullo, but it's just like, yeah, it's a flippant opportunity to work together and to make our 5-issue just coolest Wolverine story we can make. So I will be here. I will be reading it. I'd like to see more projects like this for Marvel, unquestionably. If they want to call it Red Band, fine, call it Red Band. I guess. Right? It's a little weird seeing Hickman walk back into any sort of X-Men thing. But it kind of just also doesn't feel like that because it's Wolverine. And I think as X-Men fans, we've known Wolverine stands on his own 6 claws when he so chooses, right? Like it doesn't, like if we're reading this and there's like heavy Charlie Ballgame and Krakoa references, but I'm confident there will not be. I would also remind everyone, like, not to be like a huge downer, but Hickman did do a Wolverine mini with Declan Shalvey, who's also incredible, that kicked off X-Men Unlimited, and that was like the least of his powers. Like that was like a big nothing. It was very experimental. I think primarily that was just like Shalvey seeing what he could do in the X-Men Unlimited format, you know? But maybe let's temper expectations. And again, like Hickman's doing limited projects with Marvel. That's the game. Ultimate Spider-Man, the only reason Ultimate Spider-Man is going to happen, which maybe it goes for 12, best case it goes for 18. I highly doubt it goes longer than that. The only reason it's even happening is because Donny Cates had a terrible accident. Hope he's doing better. Seems to be. And because Chip Zdarsky passed on Ultimate Spider-Man. That's something he revealed, I think, first on the Off-Panel podcast with David Harper of Sketched, Eisner-nominated Sketched. And then told me in my interview for Popverse at C2E2 this year. They offered Ultimate Spider-Man to Chip Zdarsky first because of the, Spider-Man Association, and he's had work with Marco Cicchetto on Daredevil. Would have been a nice fit, but he looked at it and saw the Hickman ideas and Ultimate Invasion and all that and was like, I would rather read this Hickman comic. And his impulse was right. Right? Clearly, for everyone involved, because everyone's celebrating and loving Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cicchetto on Ultimate Spider-Man. But the only reason that semblance of an ongoing is even happening is just, the hand of fate. It's not the plan for Hickman or for Marvel. He's doing Alien vs. Avengers and 5-issue Wolverine limited series. And okay, let's see what comes of it. Let's see what we can get out of that. I'm super excited for Capullo on Wolverine. He's got Wolverine versus dinosaurs and stuff. Like, it's going to look awesome. I loved the last project he did with Snyder on Batman. Batman, what is it? The Last Night? Is that what it's called? I feel like that one's like super underrated because their Batman run in Court of Owls is so well regarded. That final it was like 3 oversized issues. That's kind of proto Black Label stuff too. That book rules. So yeah, I will be here for Wolverine Revenge day 1, unquestionably. But it's a little bittersweet. Especially with Krakoa ending and falling apart and just the era ending. It's a little bittersweet. Not too badly, though. Not to the point that I won't be reading it. Speaking of Krakoa falling apart and ending, I don't get why Jordan D. White is doing X-Men Monday interviews. So Jordan D. White he's the X-Men editor, and I think hopefully all of you who listen to me and have listened to me for years talk about X-Men and Krakoa know this. I have not once played Bash the Editors on X-Men. It's never been my jam. I've never gone that route. And generally, I've never really believed that was any part of any particular issues I had. I think editor at a big 2 publisher is like one of the most unsung jobs in comics. Because you get all the blame, like all the blame, if things are going badly, and never any credit. Nobody celebrates good editors, except me, Will Moss, on the Ultimate Universe, best editor of Marvel. Okay? So I've never done it before. And I'm not really doing it here, except to say, these interviews are insane. It's like this individual who has been booted from X-Men, who has been running out the clock on just an absolute tragedy of an end to this era, is doing these Sinister Secrets interviews on X-Men Mondays. And I really like Chris Hassan, who runs these interviews. I think they've been an interesting and very additive often part of like being obsessed with this era of X-Men comics. We have learned things. We have gotten teases. We've gotten drops of like what's to come through these interviews. Okay? But having like the chief editor come in, and so 2 weeks in a row they've done these interviews, and it'll be like, so, Phantom X had a triangle on his head. Is there any plans for that? Or, there was a lot going on with the Shi'ar and Hickman's comics. And every answer is either like, I don't know. Oh, here's the big one. Somebody asked, hey, remember when Reed whispered something in Charlie Ballgame's ear? What did he say? And the answer literally is like, I don't know. What? And then pretty much every answer, especially in this last one, goes on to say like, oh yeah, we didn't really have plans. Or, oh, I don't know, it didn't really happen. And just the unspoken the unspoken sort of implication of all of this is like, oh yeah, Hickman seeded some stuff, and apparently everyone involved was like super reliant on him solving it, and then he wasn't here to do it, and editorially we made no effort to connect dots. And it's not weird, it's not unusual that plots would be thrown aside or forgotten, right? Comics history, especially Big Two stuff, is completely forgotten. That's not unusual at all. I talked, I think, on X-Men 97 postgame, how in Blood of Apocalypse, Apocalypse has a conversation with the Celestials in the Peter Milligan written stuff, and they're like, we're going to come back to request a favor. No one's ever touched that again. This stuff happens all the time. All the time. It's just especially weird to have the editor who, you know, seemingly shepherded the era just come in and be like, oh yeah, we never had plans for any of this. It sucks. It's really deflating. And I don't know if it's some sort of just like, you know, that sort of I've given my 2 weeks notice, I'm out of here, I don't care energy. If it's just the cold pragmatism of like, listen, I got these books out on time and y'all don't know how hard that is. I did my real job. You know, kind of energy, which it's just like the worst behind the scenes kind of interview I could imagine this era going out on. It's really depressing stuff. So if you haven't read them and you don't know what I'm talking about, don't. It will just make you sad and possibly angry. I don't see any other any other option. And again, like I have not been one to say like this era fell apart because of editorial, you know, or the editors pushed Hickman out, or any of these kind of inane conspiracies that don't really have anything backing them. But then you read these interviews and it's like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all the people who like to blame the editors had a point. That's how bad they are. It's just like, oh man, I don't understand why they're happening. Jordan, if you're listening, just don't do another one. Do not do another one. It's not helping. It's not helping you at all. Okay? Speaking of Fall of the House of X, it gracefully ended today. I think the best thing I can say about Fall of the House of X number 5 is it's over. I think that's the nicest thing that I can say. I'm glad it's done. It's the end. What? Listen, the era's been over. It's been dead for a minute. Okay, we're moving on. There's going to be newer X-Men comics. These are the cycles that comics go through. I'm going to take a break from X-Men. I need it, right? I was you know, it's one of those things too, where it's like, as this thing dies, it's like, yeah, I invested a lot in enjoying and caring about, you know, this space. And it's funny. So today on My Marvelous Year, we're in 2007, and we covered One More Day, Spider-Man One More Day, famous Spider-Man story that is notorious among fandom. It is often listed among the worst Marvel Comics, or at least Spider-Man stories of all time. And primarily it enraged fans because in order to save Aunt May's life, Peter Parker sold his marriage to Mary Jane Watson to the literal devil, Mephisto. Sorry for spoilers if you haven't read 2007. It was One More Day. Now that's a big weird plot point. Okay. Not gonna deny it. I'm not gonna deny it. But it was weird going back and reading that, because myself and Zach and Charlotte on the My Marvelous Year team, you know, we're many years removed from that. And although we've been reading the J. Michael Straczynski and John Romita Jr. Spider-Man stuff, you know, we're not in that moment. We're not caught up in the emotional ride of a Spider-Man that feels like it's progressing, and a marriage that has meaning and emotional weight in a narrative that we care about, right? And it's funny to look at that with, you know, removal, to be able to say, like, yeah, One More Day isn't, like, that bad. like as 4 issues go of comics, it's not that bad. It just made people furious because it's a walking event retcon. And it killed a thing that a lot of people really, really like and had vested a lot of themselves in, which is like, Peter Parker and MJ as a couple, as a married couple. There are a few stories more infamous, certainly modern stories, more infamous than One More Day. It's got very similar Fall of the House of X energy, I think, at least as far as what it's like to be a fan, writing a thing, investing in a thing, seeing it progress, and then just seeing it like so coldly and like cynically taken away. Because that One More Day ends with a tease for the next era. Because it's like, yeah, all this is in service to get us to Brand New Day, to get us to the next thing. We just want to go back to Bachelor Peter being Spidey, And that is what we're living through now with X-Men comics, where it's like we are just getting through this so we can reset this From the Ashes era that everyone over at Marvel is all excited about. So I was surprised how how well I connected to the One More Day experience, because as a story, it doesn't really bother me in the same way at all. Like I know it as a part of Marvel history. I think as a narrative, it's not nearly as, I think Sins Past is a lot worse. Like Sins Past is damaging. I don't think One More Day is like, it's not hostile. It's not damaging or harmful in the same ways. I don't think. But obviously it had like tremendous, infamous backlash. And that's how I feel about Fall of the House of X. I actually think One More Day is like a way better comic. Like there are some nice emotional conversations between Peter and MJ as they wrap things up. Joe Quesada draws the hell out of some McFarlane-inspired webbing. Like One More Day is a lot better. I don't even, people will take this as insulting. It's just not even a competition. It's not even close. One More Day is like hundreds of spots higher than Fall of the House of X on my comics rankings. Bird Nerd says, what a hot take. I feel like people interpret this as a hot take, and that drives me kind of insane. And that's speaking to the legacy and the influence of One More Day. But it's like, I would read One More Day 100 times before I read Fall of the House of X. Jordan says, I think Fall of the House of X is more similar to 90s Clone Saga. They both feel similar, produced under extreme duress. Yeah, maybe the end of the Clone Saga. Because the Clone Saga is forever. I mean, it's like the Clone Saga starts out fine. It becomes a problem because it never ends. It goes for ages. So I don't know, kind of similar or kind of dissimilar in terms of the issues of it. Clone Saga as an era never started as hot as like the Krakoa era. So I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't think I would compare those that closely. Justin says, I think people secretly love One More Day. No. I don't think so. It did get kind of a renewed life cycle with, getting pulled into, what was the newest Spider-Man one? No Way Home. Like the fact that they like kind of sort of adapted it in interesting ways, in successful ways, honestly. But listen, don't get me wrong. It's not like secretly like a great Marvel comic. But it's okay. It functions as an ending to the JMS run on Spidey as well. I do think there are ways that it's damaging. I mean, I think there's a bigger picture to One More Day, which is like if you had invested in the progress of Peter Parker's life from 1963 to 2007, and it's like, yes, it's Marvel time and it goes slower than the actual years here, but like this is an individual who graduated high school, graduated college, got married, got a job teaching science at a junior high, and then all that is washed away in a deal with the devil to save his aunt, who, by the way, has been dying for decades. Aunt May is wheeled into Amazing Spider-Man on death's door. She actually gets healthier as the decades progress, but she starts just ready to go. And Peter just can't let her go. It's actually very damning of Peter Parker in a number of ways. But the biggest way that we talked about today in My Marvelous Year is like, Peter is so obsessed with his guilt and making everything his problem that he is willing to give up his marriage to the devil. Like, he's hurting other people because he cannot get over his own guilt. It's hard to be a Peter Parker fan if you really internalize One More Day. He stinks. He stinks in that comic. You know? All right, y'all. Get in your questions. Getting your thoughts. Oh, okay, I did have one thing to say about Fall of the House of X number 5. What a waste of Karima. What a waste of Omega Sentinel. Talking about the editor having no answer for any of the interesting mysteries. They had no answer and no ideas what to do with one of the coolest things Hickman left behind, which was Omega Sentinel in the pages of Inferno. The solution to very quickly fix this problem was to just have, who is it, Quanon Psylocke, telepathic knife away the Sentinel in Omega Sentinel, so now she's just Karima again. I can't even cross the chasm between the potential of that narrative and just the haphazard solution. Like, oh boy. Hector says, Dave hates Marvel. I do not. Stop it. Absolutely not. That's crazy. All of the criticism, anything I'm saying about, I don't like this book. I don't like Fall of the House of X. That's true. I just said Doom is one of the best comics I've read in years. That's a Marvel comic. You got to take the good with the bad. You know? Like, and all of this is in service of, I would like these things. I would like to have a higher standard for these things. I would like them to rise to the level that I know they're capable of getting to. You know? We have decades and decades of Marvel Comics excellence. It's spread out, though. And I would just like to see them attempt those standards with some frequency or consistency. You know, just because an era ends very badly, which is what Krakoa is doing, let us not forget that it started with such promise and joy. When people look back on the Krakoa era, it's going to be remembered very fondly as a nice era of X-Men comics in the grand scheme, in the big picture. You know, we're in this moment where it's now ending very badly. So yeah, I'm going to say it's ending very badly. I'm not going to lie and pretend it's not. You know, I have no interest in that. I don't need to do PR for Marvel. They got people for that. I'm not getting paid. If they send me one free comic, I'll do PR. But until then, I'm going to say how I feel. You know? But yeah, I mean, that's bonkers. Don't hate Marvel. What? Trust me. I do think overexposure and obsessing over a thing definitely makes you more critical of it, right? And you see flaws more. You know, it's like moving in with somebody, right? Or like having a roommate. Like all of a sudden you see all these things that bug you, that bother you, because you're all in each other's space all the time. You know? Like that's definitely fandoms with certain properties, and definitely me with Marvel to an extent. But when it hits, I mean, it's my favorite thing. You know? I mean, comics are my favorite thing, but like Marvel is the one I've obsessed over the most in my life. Let's see. Logical versus Lateral says Dave only likes library books. That is a sick burn. But also, like, very true. I love going to the library to get books. Like, my favorite thing in the world, aside from my family. Caveat, caveat. I got an email today that said your hold is ready. Taiyu Matsumoto's Tokyo These Days Volume 2 is at the library. Best email I got all day. Maybe all week. That's a great email. So yeah, you know what? I'll take that. Library books. Now, if you're saying library books, not comics, we're going to have a fight. Now we're going to have to fight because I haven't read a proper non-comic. Whew, been a while. It's been a while. I got Cloud Atlas sitting next to my bed. Haven't started that yet. I did just read the Anthropocene reviewed by, who's that? Guy wrote The Fault in Our Stars. Is it John Green? Or that series of essays. That's pretty good. But yeah, if you're just talking books and you're not including comics, how dare you? How dare you? All right. Getting your questions. Getting your thoughts. What haven't we talked about today? Ultimate Black Panther. Stayed solid. Stayed solid. It's definitely the also-ran of the Ultimate Universe, which doesn't mean it's bad, but it just doesn't have the Hickman Chiquetto superstar power and the concept power of Ultimate Spider-Man. It doesn't have the bananas creator-owned energy of Peach Momoko on Ultimate X-Men, which is still just like, how is that happening? How did that get the green light? It makes me so happy that it did, but how? It's just kind of solid Black Panther stuff. And I love that Hill is like artist. Is it Stefano Caselli today? I don't know. I think so. He's like, yeah, just here's space. He writes a lot, and this is a name that we don't bandy about because he hurt a lot of people. But he writes a lot like Warren Ellis. Did superhero stuff, especially like towards the late 2010s, where it was like this sort of just, I'm going to get out of the way. I'm not even going to fake a narrative caption. This is just a blank page. Or just a free page for the artist to just sell the story. And I think part of the challenge with that is like it's so clean and it's so efficient that the books just feel a little slight. It's definitely going to read better as trades when there's more to it. But I mean, I like where Ultimate Black Panther is at. I do. It just, it goes so fast, issue by issue. And it doesn't have, it's a lot more tactical, right? It's just way more grounded than Ultimate Spider-Man or Ultimate X-Men. You know? And I think Ultimates is going to kind of put it, you know, keep it as down as like the clear number 4 of the bunch. But I do wish, I want more people to read it and give it a chance. Because I think it's strong. Let's see. Hector says, I think a lot of people are not giving From the Ashes a chance, to be honest. I don't know. It depends on the individual. I mean, I think I have my reasons for not being... They haven't announced anything that's especially exciting, I guess is the thing, right? I like vision. I like concept. I like plot. I don't see any of that with these X-Men books. It feels very strongly of just kind of going back to, you know, things people liked in the past and executing them with new creative teams. Again, I've said this every time, but like the creative teams announced are pretty good. I do also have to give Tom Brevoort a lot of credit in terms of like assembling these teams. In terms of like these teams are more diverse than the Krakoa era lineup at launch, you know, and that was one of the knocks or concerns on Brevoort was like historically, you know, had not assembled teams that were especially diverse, and like this X-Men crew is like very diverse. I mean, I'm excited about Storm. You've got creators on there that I haven't been familiar with. And have done some cool work recently. I'm interested to see that. I like Jed McKay a lot. You know, but I just, without... I don't know. It's a hard thing when it's like, I'm not the sort of comics fan that that is just like ride or die for a franchise. Like there's no book that I've ever read in my life where I'm just like, oh, I just always read Amazing Spider-Man. Or I just always read X-Men. Or I always follow this character or whatever. Especially now when I realize how many good comics there are in the world in so many other places. I don't think that's good use of... It's not a great way to consume comics. It's actually kind of the worst way. You tie yourself to something even when it's not delivering and not helping you enjoy your life or grow as a thinker and just consumer of entertainment. You know, it's fast food, right? Which has its place. It has its place. But yeah, I mean, the reason I got into this era of X-Men was Hickman fandom. And then the absolute knockout quality of House and Powers. B Black says it's like Cowboys fans. Yeah, no, it's sport. I mean, I made this analogy before, but it's totally sports fandom. Which, as a sports fan, I'm like, I make all these mistakes over and over again every year. Right? The Bulls are like, hey, we're going to be the 9th best team in the East. I'm like, great, let me sign up to watch every game. Like, I make the same mistake year after year. So I'm very understanding of how it happens. But yeah, it's like I follow creators and creative vision. And in the absence of that, why would I read From the Ashes? Like, I guess that's the way I flip the question, is like, why would I read From the Ashes? You know? What's the pitch? I really have no idea. And I think if I understood that or saw it in a way that was interesting to me, yeah, I'd get more excited about it. But until then, I don't know what it is. And they've done a lot of promo. There's a lot of, here come this book, and Storm's going to be on the Avengers, and they're making a big deal From the Ashes. It's not like it doesn't have marketing. It's not like they're not hyping it. It had a story in the Free Comic Book Day that was, I thought, quite poor. And it's like, what is the vision? What is the pitch? Why should we be excited about From the Ashes? I don't know. I would like to know. Justin says, I really like this issue of Black Panther. Shuri is for sure the rat, but it's going to be a good reveal. Yeah, is it Shuri for like for Shuri? Are we for Shuri? I think you're probably right, because they've been playing up Queen. Is it Okoye? Pretty hard, or is it Nakia? Who's the queen? See, this is how good of a reader I am. Comprehension's just completely out the window. It does feel likely that it's Shuri. But you know what? It's still mysterious enough that I don't know for sure. I have to say. And I like that I like that there's a little bit of mystery to it. Because Black Panther aligns with Killmonger and Storm, and you got the Queen and you got Shuri in the room, and one of them's probably working with the Moon Knights. Justin says Okoye is Queen. Okay. Why isn't it Nakia? Questions that demand answers. All right. We're right about at time. X-Men Forever #4 did come out last week. It ended. I didn't write anything down. Did anything happen? I don't know. It kind of ended the whole Hope Phoenix thing. Gillen made sure that we connected the dots with sort of the origins of Messiah Complex and the Phoenix, and thank goodness the Dominion Enigma did not have sexual relations with that woman, a.k.a. Hope's mother. I don't know. Did anything bigger happen that felt like... I'm very curious how Rise of the Powers of 10, #5 is going to end. I don't even, like, what are we even looking for at this point? Like, what are we... what are we waiting for still to happen? You know, like I guess the final questions to answer would just be like, okay, officially, what has become of Krakoa? What is the status? Where are all these mutants going? And like, what, if anything, of this era will remain? Right? I mean, I think that would be kind of the final questions. I guess I'm still how do we unseat Enigma and Moira? Still needs to be resolved. I guess there's a few things. But yeah, we're gonna talk about that next week with Ernie and Open Mike Eagle. And then I think the following week is the X-Men 700 big giant conclusion of everything spectacular. That I suspect will just be big post-log energy. I don't think I'll be sinking a lot of thought or time into that. But yeah, next week should be fun. Javi asks, is Arakko Mars still a thing? Somebody here tell us. I can't even remember. Fall of the House of X was so incomprehensible. What happened to Arakko? Anybody? I'll wait. I'm going to get a drink. I haven't taken a single drink this whole time. That's incredible. I haven't even mentioned our sponsor. Whew, 1 hour in. I am wiped. How about you all? Listening to me? Are you tired? I'm tired. I haven't read the latest Immortal Thor yet. Saw some of y'all mentioning that. Talk about that after I catch up. I think today was supposed to be the Gods crossover, wasn't it? Did Ewing make Gods good? That would be interesting. A couple quick recs. Maybe we'll do this on the tax time. Punk Rock Karaoke. New graphic novel out this year. Amazing. Love it. One of my favorite graphic novels of the year. It's called Punk Rock Karaoke. If nothing else, you're going to get a sick punk rock playlist out of this thing. It's like every few pages, the author puts in now playing. And it's like some deep cuts. Like I'm relatively well versed in the rock and roll history. But man, deep cuts that I had never heard before. I had as much fun pulling up every song and then trying to listen to it as I read as I've had with just about any comic this year, this side of Doom. It was awesome. Punk Rock Karaoke. If you haven't read it before, highly, highly recommended. It's 2024 favorite for sure. All right, y'all. Let's see. Nobody knows what happened to Arakko, seriously? Banksy says, no idea. Boss says, are you going to read X-Men 35 700? Yeah, I'll probably read it. But, like, I'm not happy about it. Like, I'm already cranky about it. Justin says, I think we're going to get an Arakko resolution and Heir to Apocalypse. Okay. So we don't know. That's wild. All right, y'all. Next week, we're going to have great energy. Everyone's going to be excited. We got 2 good guests. They'll balance out my hatred of Marvel Comics. Thanks, y'all, for being here. Appreciate you listening. Enjoy the comics.